and we are back with another episode of Courage in the Crisis, conversations on faith, health, and wellness. We have been with you from the Moravian Church, Eastern West Indies province throughout this COVID period, and we're going to continue with you as long as you need us. So today we are again here with another conversation about our health and wellness. And today we're going to be talking about such an important topic, one of stress. Now, COVID was not the originator of stress. Stress existed long before COVID 19, but we saw a lot more impact from stress and COVID becoming a stressor in and of itself on our people all around us. And we ourselves have been dealing with the stress of this pandemic. So we want to look at that today, and not only just stress, but most importantly, a more naturopathic or holistic way to handle stress in your life, and just to encourage somebody out there around you. So today I have two exciting people. I have Dr. Brian, who is a psychiatrist from Barbados. Hi, Doc.
Hi, good afternoon to you.
Yes, and I have Kavinia Francis. She is a fitness instructor and she's from Antigua. Hi, Kavinia, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, great. We're happy to have you. And this is a topic, I don't like stress, but I do love to talk about how we can beat the stress because, statistics continue to show, studies show that stress actually kills. And so many areas and places we're seeing the impact around us. So let's start the way we normally start. We need to know how we are doing. So let's start with a check-in. I'm going to start with Kavinia because you're new to our set. Brian is a part of the group. He's a part of the gang. So let's give our visitor the first preference. Kavinia, how are you doing? How are you doing now in this new transition period of the COVID pandemic?
I'm coping well. Being a fitness instructor, I continue to use that as a great stress relief. You see my boxing back here.
Yeah.
Every day I get up. Sometimes it's just a hike. Sometimes, to help, keep the mind at ease, relaxed, and so yeah, I've been coping well, and of course, nutrition. Making sure
Yes.
attention to what I'm eating. So it's been going well thus far.
Excellent. Can I say, Kavinia, about who you are? Can I say it? Just say yes. Good. So she is one of our Antiguan girls who rode across the Atlantic. What's your name again? What's the name of the group again?
Island girls.
Island Girls, right. So just successfully rode across the Atlantic for quite it's over a month, right?
Yes, 47 days.
47 days. So this girl has stamina. So you're going to learn today. And the interesting thing is we're going to also do some practical stuff. So make some room in your living room, in your bedroom, on your living in your gallery, wherever you can. So you could work along with Kavinia today. Thank you so much for being with us. Doc, how are you doing?
I am not too bad, thanks. I'm, as I was saying a bit earlier before we came on air, I'm actually still at work. Yes, we moved on from the days perhaps when, everyone was in lockdown and things were a bit quieter. There's now reopening, and so we're at a point where things are getting a bit busier. And so I found myself at work and recognized I was going to have to be here to do the program, but it is what it is.
All right. And we're going to make the best of it. Indeed. I'm still coping. We are transitioning. I'm back out to work now on a full, more or less schedule. And, you would think it'd be normal, but it really does take some adjusting to go back after you've been, cooped up for a long time and enjoyed being cooped up in many ways. But we're back out and, just going through the motion, but God is good. God is good. So folks, share this live, start a watch party. We're going to get into the discussion right now. Brian, let me start with you. You're a psychiatrist, you work in the field. I'm sure this is nothing new to you. So help us understand today, what exactly is stress and why is it such a big concern for us when it comes to mental health and wellness?
Okay. Well, as you said, stress has been around for a long time. It's been talked about a lot. I think our audience probably are very familiar, and I'm sure they've used the phrase, I'm stressed, I'm stressed out, I'm having a lot of stress, you are causing me stress. We have, been using those terms for quite a long time. And it all comes back. Stress by definition really is a response to a threat. And that response can take place in the physical realm in our bodies. They can also have emotional and psychological effects as well. And threats can be quite varied. It's always argued that many years ago, perhaps, when, there were a lot of tigers and lions roaming the place, and you would come upon them, that your body would have to react to the fact that a lion or a tiger is coming and looking at you and thinking of you as a meal, and therefore you're going to have to take some action to avoid becoming that. And so changes would take place in your body as a result of that. And obviously things would happen as well in terms of your perception, in terms of your actions thereafter. So stress is a response to a threat. And as a result, it has physical symptoms that occur, because when a threat occurs, then there are changes in the body, and it's usually changes in what we call hormones. There's a particular one called adrenaline. Adrenaline is known as something we call the fight or flight hormone. And as you can imagine, if you can imagine that, yes, I'll use dog. We don't see lions and tigers roaming the streets really. So if you come across a barking dog, you're passing someone's house and there's a dog and the dog is barking and the dog is looking menacing, then one of two things, potentially happens. You either figure, I need to get out of there, and you may decide to run to get away from the dog. And that means that a hormone is being produced, adrenaline usually, which is then going to give you, it's going to cause your muscles to start using the sugars in your body, preparing for you to run, to physically take your way around that. The dog may be so close, however, that you might figure, it doesn't make sense me running. Let me brace myself to getting into a fight with this dog. And therefore, you may actually just start to get very tense and prepare yourself, therefore, to defend yourself. And so the changes, the physical changes are what happen in that situation. Of course, most of us do not have, dogs on a regular basis wanting to attack us. But sometimes we perceive other things that are happening in our life as being very much like the dog. And COVID is actually a good example of that nowadays, where we can't see it, we can't feel it, it's there, and we perceive it in the same way as we perceive that dog, which is, it is something to be feared. And so it starts causing changes in terms of hormones being produced in the body and other chemicals as well being produced in the body, and can produce physical symptoms, certainly. So some of the physical symptoms of stress then will include headaches, will include problems sleeping, pains in the body. Some people get dizzy or lightheaded. Some people start feeling nauseous. They feel like they want to throw up. They may feel that they want to go to the bathroom. They may actually have diarrhea. They want to urinate more. Some, over a period of time, if that happens, because again, if you're worried about something like COVID, then you're going to perhaps be in this state of heightened awareness and heightened concern for a period of time. And it can affect your immune system, and actually you're then more prone to getting coughs, colds, and things of that nature. So remember, COVID is not the only kind of stress that we have. COVID has exacerbated concerns that we've had in terms of work, because of changes that occur in work. But one can have problems with work because one has a difficult work environment. One's work may be hard to do. One may not have enough people at work to do the work. One may have people at work that cause you stress as well and cause you aggravation. Home can be stressful because of relationships, and we've talked about relationships on the show in the past and how difficult those can be. Grieving, we've talked about. Death, separation, divorce, anything in that nature can also occur as stresses. And those are the traditional stresses that we are used to, which, as I'm saying, COVID perhaps has just been brought to the fore and exacerbated more. The psychological effects of stress would be things like one gets tired, one gets irritable, one can feel overwhelmed, one can feel nothing at all. One often can feel numb or detached. And persons, sometimes you ask them, what's happening, how are you? And they say, well, I'm fine, I'm not feeling anything. And that doesn't mean that all is calm and well. That may mean that you have detached yourself from what is worrying you, what is stressing you out. And so you're not perceiving that as much as before. And just quickly, In terms of other things to look at is things like forgetting, difficulty concentrating, difficulty focusing on tasks, and losing some interest in doing things because it all seems to be a little bit too much. And persons can then not want to socialize as much and have little desires and saying to do the normal things. So stress can present in really quite a lot of ways, both physical and both, as I said, psychological as well.
Thank you for that. That was a really good explanation, expansive explanation. And one of the things that's coming out, folks, is that just about anything in life can become a stressor. Even the good things can become a stressor. Kevin, I'm going to bring it in just in a little bit, but I want Doctor just to comment on this. There's a saying that some stress is good. What's the truth to that? Is there any truth to that?
Well, it is argued, yes, that if it is, I mean, the things that we get stressed about that are good are things like doing exams, trying to complete a work project. If you're doing exams, it's because you're trying to get a qualification and wanting to, then once you get that, then it means that there are benefits that will come from that. If you're doing a particular work project that once it is finished, then apart from the fact that you might be getting paid to do it, there's also the satisfaction that comes from that. So there is often then, yes, you are energized, okay? So the difference between, again, these hormones that I talked about, which are causing fear versus causing you energy, and, you worry about not sleeping, but this is, you're not sleeping because you are focused on the task and wanting to complete it and get it done. So that's when you have the so-called good stress, when it is that the outcome is something desirable, it's something wanted, it's something that's beneficial to you. But when we worry about things like COVID, then there's often, because we don't necessarily have a way of getting, when we worry about COVID, when we don't have a way of fixing it, we don't have a way of necessarily sorting it out, then it means that, if all of that energy is not being put into getting something productive done. There's just a lot of worry, there's a lot of fear, and we're not necessarily benefiting from that.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm thinking, even with this situation, the word of God is so clear to us. Be anxious for nothing, don't worry about anything. But at the same time, the stresses of life come in and they cause us to become anxious, they cause us to worry. Let me bring you in here, Kavinya. As a fitness instructor, do you see evidence of stress and its impact on the people you work with on a regular basis, your clients or just people you interact with?
Absolutely. As the doc mentioned, the chemical imbalance that happens causes a lot of the sometimes negative reactions. So in the industry that I am, we have people that tend to overeat because coping mechanism that makes them feel better. And I think the important thing is that everybody that's feeling stressed, they want to feel better. And I think this forum is great because it'll give them better options than what they might have known. Some people go to comfort foods, which only exacerbates the stress, the chemicals, rather than which we will help to guide them to better options to help to alleviate, create balance within themselves, within the chemical imbalances that are, increasing the stress hormones. And so with my clients, we talk about the different options that will work, because everybody's different, that will work for each person based on their individuality. So some people like vigorous exercises, some people just simply like a hike. And one of the things I like to do is find out what will work for you that you will maintain. What works for me may not work for you because you might hate to run. And if I'm giving you a regimen to run, you're not going to want to, it's going to be added stress rather than something you enjoy. Like, let's go for a walk on the beach. It's still activity, still helping to produce the endorphins that will help to reduce stress. So finding different coping mechanisms that suits different individuals is the great challenge that I have, and I enjoy, seeing the benefits after they start eating better, adding activity to their daily lives, and they feel better. Because the saying they say, usually it's that your body listens to your mind. Same way, your body feels better, your mind feels good. So it's
Ah, I
together.
love it. I love it. So let's look at some of the approaches. We're gonna go back and forth with what can be done and also how it manifests itself and some of the situations. But let me just add here, viewers, remember you could send in your comments, you could ask your questions to us live on air. We have Doc here, we have Kafinia here, who will be able to answer your questions as they come. So don't be afraid, send your questions in. But let's look at now, Doc, some of the approaches to dealing with stress. You working in the medical field, for instance, let me ask you this then. Do you have a diagnosis called stress? Would you ever diagnose, before we get to what can be done, would you ever diagnose somebody as being stressed?
Mhm. Well, we do have something called acute stress disorder,
Okay.
and there's chronic stress disorder, and there's post-traumatic stress disorder. But generally speaking, we actually really don't make those diagnoses a lot. We've talked a lot about things like anxiety disorder and depression, and those are the conditions, I guess, that we would more see,
Okay.
because those are the ones that would more present, I guess, to in this case, a psychiatrist like myself. Um, because of, again, the physical complaints that persons have when they're stressed. And it depends if they realize that this is what is happening to them. But their first port of call is going to be maybe their general practitioner. They're going to say, but my head is hurting all the time. Maybe they may think I have a brain tumor or something, or they're having neck pain and back pain and those sorts of things. So they're going to think whatever I have is physical. And again, they go to their doctor who, again, between examining them or talking with them, perhaps recognizes that they are under significant amount of stress from wherever, from whatever environment they're in. And so at that point in time, then because it may be more than one environment, there may be problems at home, there may be problems at work, there may be chronic illness as well. So there are many things that perhaps will be affecting the individual. And so you can't necessarily pin it down to one thing, but the effect of that is going to be stress. And therefore, you will find, again, general practitioners will use that diagnosis, I guess, a bit more than us, because you wouldn't necessarily send anyone to a psychiatrist because they have stress. You would, again, perhaps discuss some of the things we've been talking about, even like exercising or relaxation or whatever. You're not necessarily going to be sending someone to a psychiatrist, for that, unless you are concerned that that stress has led to anxiety, which is very symptomatic, or depression, and in which case you then recognize that you need to do something a bit more.
All right. So how then do you, on your level in the medical field, deal with stress traditionally?
Mm-hmm.
If is there an approach that you use generally?
Mm. Usually, again, and I think Kabinia was mentioning some of the things certainly that we would advise, because yes, you still get persons who will say that they're stressed, and with simple relaxation techniques, you would recommend deep breathing. I often will be recommending deep breathing to persons. There are several ways in which sometimes this is described to do, which is you count, a certain amount to inhale and exhale, and that confuses people. So normally I would tell people a simple 4-4-4, inhale for a count of 4, keep for a count of 4, and then exhale for a count of 4. And again, you're not expecting that people are going to be doing that for the next 20 minutes, but you'd be surprised how sometimes that is just very useful. Progressive muscle relaxation, in which you encourage persons to just sit somewhere quietly and just imagine themselves, relaxing all of their muscles. Exercise, certainly, and we've been talking about that, and that's good because exercise has been shown, the studies show that it is excellent in dealing with stress generally, as well as the other things we talked about, anxiety, depression, even the most serious mental disorders. Exercise is excellent for that. And of course, there are the physical conditions that exercise is wonderful for as well: high blood pressure, control of diabetes, bringing down your cholesterol, all of those things. So we talk a lot about exercise. The kind of patients that often see motivation to exercise becomes an issue sometimes. And so that can be a limiting factor. But when it's not, encouraging patients to exercise certainly goes a long way. Yoga and stretching, again, sort of different types of exercising, and again, not as taxing. There's persons who will say, well, my knee is hurting me or my back is hurting me and I can't go running or jogging. But just simple stretching, can be quite useful as well. Journal writing, getting people to write things down. When people are feeling overwhelmed, then certainly sometimes you say, stop and just jot down all the things that are troubling you. And the list is sometimes a lot shorter than it feels like in their head. And so once you do that, and you kind of say, I'm really worried about that, but then you start thinking of ways of how I can deal with that. And again, doing things that you like doing. I like the idea of walking on the beach, not for the exercise aspect of it, but because beaches are just wonderful places, looking at the sand, looking at the water, and just looking at that. I tell people I don't go to the beach very often, but I imagine it a lot because it's a beautiful thing to imagine. And certainly that's very relaxing for me. So doing that, but you can do other creative things, dancing, which is a form of exercise, but it's a creative art as well. And things like painting. I knew someone that got a coloring book. They were an adult and they were coloring. And, when they did that, I suppose they might have felt embarrassed to say, but coloring for an adult can actually be quite therapeutic as well. So there are things that, because, we don't want to go to medications. You get into medications when you're having anxiety, when you're having depression, when you're having those sort of symptoms. Sometimes you will use some medications in the short term in order to get people to perhaps to relax, but you still want them to do the other things that we've talked about and not be on the medications, for a long period of time.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because so many people that we meet want to have a pill a day to take the problem away. And that often isn't the case when it comes to stress. It's things that you must do consciously, consistently. And I know you chuckled a little bit when you talked about the coloring, but believe it or not, I recommend that to my clients. There's specific books, therapy like books, where they have the medallia type stuff, painting, drawings that they could color. And I use it personally, and I have been coloring one picture for weeks because it's so intricate. But let me tell you, it allows you to slow down. It allows you to slow down. And then as you're doing the different colors and doing bringing it together, the beauty of it is just so amazing that in and of itself is a relaxing, and even it helps with anxiety as well. So that is something that we could definitely endorse. All right, Kavinia, I want to bring you back in here. You're going to be taking us full steam ahead for the rest of the evening as we just share a little bit more. Doc, you're not going anywhere, but we're just going to push ahead. Here's what I want you to go answer before you go into some of the techniques, expounding on one or two that Doc mentioned. How do you see, you talked about people resorting to comfort eating, which is a big thing. And many times, as you correctly said, the issue is really in the mind, what they're thinking, what they're processing, and how they're interpreting the events in their lives. But how do you see the stress manifesting in their body? For instance, I know we have a high prevalence of NCDs in the Caribbean. And I am sure there is a direct link between these high numbers when it comes to our cancers, our diabetes, our hypertension, and stress. Tell me about that.
Yes, definitely, especially like the ones you mentioned is an issue. Even in Antigua, the hypertension, diabetes, and studies have shown that these two especially are very high in Afro-Americans, Caribbean people, and can be controlled through diet and exercise. I think awareness and education is the first step. A lot of people just get into comfort eating because that's what they were taught. And if we're able to, steer them, guide them into a better direction, let them understand the foods you eat. You shouldn't live to eat, but eat to live. That's one of the that I use. That's Eat to Live. And like you say, you feel better, your energy levels, you will notice that your blood pressure normalizes. I've had clients that did come off of course, working with their GP, did come off of blood pressure medication after
Nice.
they've, you know, started eating better, started exercising. Diabetes also became controllable with just by adding proper nutrition and exercise into their everyday routine. So
Okay.
it isn't a problem, and unfortunately, prior to COVID, the fast foods were
Mm.
cheap and easy to get. One of the good things I think happened during the lockdown and this pandemic is a lot of people has gotten into backyard gardening,
Yeah.
and they're now
Mm.
eating the land. I am really happy about that. And most of the fast food chains were closed, so access to that. So people, despite that aspect of the stressful era, they were forced into better habits, and
Mm.
gardening, we're reaping good nutrition that we can actually eat. And part of the stress relief is the gardening. I know I have a lot of
Yeah.
clients now, they're being more active because they're in the garden, and
Mm-hmm.
then they're happy with the produce. And it's actually, the nutrition content. I'm going to a little more later, the better options to choose, of course, from the land actually help to boost all the chemicals that will release stress. So definitely exercise and nutrition is the way to go.
Well, you say you're gonna go into it a little bit later, but how about we go there now? What are the foods? Let's start with nutrition because that's a big one. It's sometimes a hindrance, or because people can't afford it, or and it's also we know great help. So, what are the foods that we want to encourage people to consume to help with managing stress, managing mood?
Okay, so first and foremost, teas are great, and I
Mm.
know a lot of the flavors with the teas, which I think you're gonna give us some more insight into it. Essential oil flavors also for aromatherapy, but like you have the lavender, you have chamomile to help sleep better, just to help calm you down. So any kind of herbal tea, and green tea is a great not only energy stimulant, natural energy stimulant, but it also promotes weight loss. So incorporating teas into your everyday routine is a great start. Some people do a warm lemon water without sugar is best. If you're going to do sugar, you want to do brown sugar or agave or any of the stevia, the natural ones, because we want to pay attention to our sugar intake also. So starting your morning with something like an herbal tea, lemon water would be a great way to help with, help prepare you for the day, relieve stress, prepare you for the day. For
Can I
breakfast,
interrupt you there? I want to interrupt you. You mentioned the teas that we buy in the boxes. In the Caribbean, we are bush tea drinkers. Is bush tea an option?
of course, that's actually what we use. Like I said,
Okay, okay.
I hike. We hike every Sunday, so we'll. I don't know if it's the same names: Christmas bush, lemongrass, or fever grass. So yeah, of course, picking from the land is always best, your first choice. However, if you don't have that accessible and available, then you can, go to the tea bags. It's the second best. But if you can get the fresh or dehydrated bush, that will always be first preference. Soursop leaves, that it's good to help promote good sleep. So each bush have like different benefits that we could get into, but because of lack of time. um, then you want to do fruits. Fruits again for breakfast, great option. Vitamin C and vitamin B, which and antioxidants, which are rich in berries, are also great. Uh, they are also high nutrient with low calories. So if you're paying attention or wanting to control or lose weight, using nutrient dense but low calorie yields are
Mm-hmm.
also best option. Like I said, they have vitamin C, vitamin D, and all those vitamins and minerals, magnesium, have been shown to assist with stress relief, promoting balance, and improving overall health and well-being.
Okay.
Um, Good fats. I know people don't like to hear that, but the body actually need fat. We have fat that cushions our organs, like around the heart. So there is something called good fat, healthy fats. Things like avocado has been known to be one of the best healthy fat um, option that you can use to, again, reduce stress, improve your nutrition, and control weight if that's one of your goals. And even if you're trying to, like bodybuilders, because of the high fat content and they need a higher calorie yield, they just add more avocados to it. Fish is a great option. The whole meat and processed industry right now is you need to be mindful and moderately intake those things. So fish though is the better option. You get the omega 3s, the fatty acids, and those all those things again help with weight loss, stress relief, and providing the nutrients necessary to maintain and improve your well-being. So we have carbohydrates. One of the things that we do in the Caribbean, we love our starch. We love,
Yeah.
love, love.
Yes. Bread and cheese. Doubles.
Going to tell you, complex carbohydrates are great. They're necessary for the body. So you want to choose like sweet potato, yam.
Mm-hmm.
You want to choose the complex carbohydrates that's also going to give you energy and won't convert readily into fat and
Okay.
like stress inducing. So if you're going to do your carbs, you should choose complex carbohydrates, like I said, like sweet potato, yam. If you're gonna do rice, brown, whole grain, anything that says whole grain, whole wheat, because it also has the fiber that you need, that you need just for going off regularly. Really important. We have people that either, as Doc said, with the stress from this pandemic, they have people that having whether it's diarrhea or constipation. So you have to be mindful of your fiber intake to help to regulate. Simple as that. So just eating more high fiber foods is really important, and you won't get that with the white flour, and you won't get that with white sugar or the white. So just to make better choices. And
Yeah.
there's some people that like to go cold turkey. I am one that believes in transitioning and slowly going toward your goal. So for some people, if you have to do half and half, half
Mm-hmm.
half white flour when you're making your bread or whatever, that's fine until you can go to
Oh.
full wheat. Those are little steps I think have the science that has worked. Uh, So protein, complex carbohydrates, of course, greens. You
Yeah.
can never have too many greens. Broccoli, kale, spinach, high in iron, high in fiber. Again, all those things will help to improve your mood, regulate your body, keep everything in check, balance, and even give you energy for when you're ready to exercise. So yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. It sounds so textbook in a way, and sometimes it could be so difficult for some persons because we all know when you go to the grocery, the better stuff are the more expensive stuff. I like the fact that you mentioned that it's not only a stress relief in terms of doing it, but the yield that you get in terms of the food. People now can do their own growing and at least limit the expense on their pockets. We talked about finances or last week or 2 weeks back. And so those are options that we have. And I wanted to talk about just quickly, just 2 minutes. We want to move into the other part. What should we stay away from? It's kind of obvious, but I still want us to say it because I remember when the stay-at-home ban was lifted in Antigua. Even here in Trinidad and Tobago, the Kentucky line was making shapes. Everybody, and I remember saying to my husband, well, these people forget that it's the lifestyle diseases that makes them more at risk for having a poor outcome with COVID. But it's as if as soon as KFC opened, everybody ran out. There was actually a video that was circulated on Facebook where they were making fun of it. So I think we already know that KFC is not your best friend. It could be a distant cousin. It could be a back in time friend, but it should not be so close to your heart. What else do we need to stay away from when it comes to not only taking care of our bodies, but we're talking about managing our stress, the foods that fuel our brain to properly and successfully manage stress and mood?
Okay, so the 4 culprits that you want to completely eliminate or significantly reduce from your diet are: 1, white flour. Anything with white flour. That's all your pastries, anything fried in flour.
Oh my gosh.
Anything with white flour. Okay?
Yeah.
That's, again, significantly reduce or completely eliminate. 2, dairy.
Yeah.
Dairy, that includes all your cheeses, all your milks, the ice cream, the fillings. Dairy. So they are all.
I think somebody just logged off right there, so we have to get them back. We have to give them a chance to come back.
The alternatives are,
okay, good.
You have almond milk, you have cashew milk, you have soy milk. It's like alternatives exist.
Yes.
And surprise, if you try them, they're actually not so bad. So we were at number 2.
Yes.
Number 3, sugar. Processed sugar. Now, the sugar in itself is not a bad thing because your body sugar. The problem is for profit, everything has sugar. So we are consuming too much sugar. So you adding sugar to your meals, it's just excess sugar, and the excess sugar turns to fat amongst the diabetes and all the other host of problems that comes with added sugar. So again, number 3 would be eliminate or significantly reduce your sugar intake. And as you know, sugar is a very addictive substance and you always want more, more, more. So if you can significantly reduce or eliminate, you'll feel so much better. You'll see, and I've had clients that had issues with severe pimples, and once they started eliminating the oils, the fried food, and the dairy, the body resets, it self-corrects once you start giving it what it needs. And number 4, red meat. Some people say they have to have red meat, and they said, I believe in baby steps. If you do red meat daily, let's try only 3 days a week. If you do it 3 days a week, let's choose a day. Once a week, you'll have your red meat. So those would be the 4 culprits that you should stay away from, especially during this time that, we're not as active as we should be. At least we should pay attention to what we're putting in.
Oh boy, I am on board with you 100%, but I hear a lot of my friends saying, nah, I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna have a dead anyway. We like to say that we're gonna die anyway. Let me just die happy and sweet. But folks, this is a serious thing. It's not just about the weight. It's about how your brain is fueled to manage and cope with stress, even dealing with anxious feelings and depressions. Your gut health is very, very, very important there. Let's just look at this one quickly because we want to get you to at least a few minutes and we're running out of time here. The aromatherapy, of course, those who know me know that's my whatever, I don't know, my BFF. I mean, I love it. I live it. I consume it internally. I use it on my body. I use it in my house. What can you say to that? And what are the best ones we could use for stress, relieving stress? You mentioned some before, but just to help people go through. And Doc, can you please let the people know that you are a psychiatrist and it's okay to use aromatherapy?
Yes, it is. There's some studies that have shown that, I think you mentioned it earlier, that lavender is actually quite useful and it's quite good for anxiety and for stress.
Yeah.
So the problem is, I mean, things, essential oils and so on are not great money makers, and therefore I think people haven't studied them as much as they would have studied other things that they can make profit out of. But I think, it makes sense, certainly, in terms of, again, whether or not it's just the aroma part of it, or whether, again, there's a massage aspect to it as well, in some instances as well, that's also going to be, useful for stress, muscle relaxation, and so on. So one has to be careful that you're not allergic to some of the oils, but apart from that, one should, again, use it as part of certainly wellness. I mean, if you're not even necessarily using it because you're anxious or whatever, but I think it's an important part of wellness. And so, yes, I certainly will encourage people to at least try it.
Kevin, you want to add? Because I want you to start to get ready to go and give us that display. But add, and then you could go prepare and you tell us when you're ready.
So yeah, definitely. Lavender is one of my favorites actually, and that, like Doc said, studies has shown, and just having these scents around lavender, peppermint, citrus, like orange, you want to take deeper breaths. So it forces you into that slow breathing. So it's kind of a combination of everything. So I know lavender, peppermint, and citrus are used for stress relief, whether it's just through the diffuser or if, like Doc said, if you're getting a to help to relax the muscles. For sleeping, I know I use the eucalyptus oil because, again, the respiratory, it just makes it nice and easier, deeper breathing when for sleeping, and chamomile. So
Yes.
some that I've used, and I know clients and friends that have used those. For energy, we do cinnamon, tea tree, um, rosemary. For so once you have energy, usually you can battle stress a lot easier.
I
So
like that.
those
Yes.
would be um, ones I would say to try if you're going to try the peppermint, the lavender, chamomile.
And in addition to that, bergamot is a good addition as well for relaxing and calming, the lang ylang, those sort of oils. But of course, you could always send us a message. Kavina, go get ready to get us on our feet. She's gonna give us some demonstrations, but as she does that, and you could just motion to me when you're ready. Make some space, but the essential oils, the nutrient rich foods that we talked about, the deep breathing. I always say deep breathing is important, but sometimes we think about it, oh, it's not of God, because we're people of God. The breath of God is life. If your breath stops, you're gonna die. The Bible says He breathed the breath of life, and people, the soil became a living soul. So breathing helps to balance back your system and just kind of help you to relax. So these are things you can use. Pay attention now to I keep saying Gavinia. Gavinia. I have a friend who's Gavinia. Kavinia, as she just demonstrates another thing that we could do. We talked about exercise, so she's going to give us some techniques now that we could use at home.
Okay. So we're gonna have my timer. I'm gonna put on just to keep it
Okay,
short, and we're
great.
gonna work for 20 seconds and rest for 10 seconds, and I'll keep it simple. Most of what I'm doing can be done seated too. I am
Okay.
also silver sneaker certified, where I am certified to train 65 and older that might be wheelchair bound, and they enjoy activity just as much as we do. So most of what I'm doing today can be done seated also. Okay, so we're gonna start with just warming up, and we start warming up with our shoulder rolls. Just You can do some, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it because I am stressed.
Let's change the direction. Now the opposite direction.
I'm enjoying this.
I am, yes. Oh,
Side bends. Side, let's stretch. Reach.
I can't go too far, but
Reach. 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 10 seconds. And now we're gonna go reach up on your tippy toes and reach down. Toes and reach down. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Touch your toes if you can. Stretch, stretch, stretch. We do 2 more. Last one. If you're standing, let's just circle the hips. As Doc said, a lot of us stress like to stay around the lower back. This actually helps. And we go the next direction.
mm-hmm.
Next, to our squats. So, yes, and stand up. And then up. Sit. And stand. 10 more seconds. So we start nice and easy. Make sure we get our body prepared, nice and warm. The warm up helps to prevent injury and prepare the body for the work. So next, we just need to march in place. You can do seated march. You don't have to stand. You can do seated march. Ten more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Now we're gonna do punch. 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 Let's go. And when you're home, you can add a little music if you need to for motivation. 3, 2, 1. We're gonna punch up, up, up. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. Now for the abs, across. Up to the opposite elbow.
We're seated. We have to leave this one for now until we get it.
I'm seated.
Oh no, she messed us up. But guys, this is excellent.
Yes,
Ah.
3, 2, 1.
Wow.
Our jump rope. So just lifting the heels. Jump rope. You can lift your heels while you're seated and move your wrists. Get that wrist motion. Go, let's go. Should feel your heart rate increase a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Switch wrist direction for the last 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, it should be nice and warm. We're gonna go into jumping jacks. So you can just go, if you can't jump, you have knee issues, you can go one side of the butt. You wanna get a little more, we're gonna do jumping jacks. Like I said, if you can't jump, just step. Step, jumping jacks. You have 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Mark it out. I'm going to do kicks, front kicks. Let's go, alternated. Kick. 10 more seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. Check it out. Going kick into the side. Ready. Side. 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 10 seconds left. Three, 2, 1. Now we kick into the back because we want to get all direction. So we go back, back. Get the hamstrings, back, back. It also goes to balance. You have 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Little more shoulders. So we go out, in, up, down. Out, in, up, middle. Out, and up. Squeeze the shoulder blades when you open. And up. Open. Up. Open. Up. Open. You're gonna stretch now, bring it down. Kept it short and sweet.
Nice.
And up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. One more inhale up. And so.
Wow.
You can just that like 3 times.
Yes. Thank you. 3 or 4 rounds of that.
Yeah, that'll be a nice way to start. And then once it gets too easy, in like 6 to 8 weeks, we do a more advanced session.
Excellent. Thank you. I know somebody got the exercise today. So just say thank you, Kavinia, because I haven't moved for a long time. Well, that's not me. But I know somebody got the exercise today. And listen, folks, we're trying to let you understand that, like one writer said, we're not going to be able to escape most, if not all, of the stresses in our lives. We can't outrun COVID. We can't go, or maybe we can dig a hole in the ground, but we probably won't survive. But once we're alive, we're going to always have stressors, and we're going to have to find ways, healthy ways, to cope and to remain healthy. And what we talked about today, what Kavina just showed us, our diet, our exercise, our deep breathing, and just to end, as we go off, our prayer and meditation and our thinking. The Bible says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So many times our stressors become more powerful than they ought to be because of how we think about them. We actually give them power through the thoughts that we have surrounding them. And so it's important to always challenge your thoughts. Nobody cares for me. Well, is that really so? Even if it's one person, one is a whole lot more than nobody. Challenge your thoughts. Change the way you think. The Bible also talks about being transformed by the renewing of your mind. So we know the mind has a powerful role to play in dealing with our stressors. And then prayer and meditation. Those moments when you could just sit down, and I recommend nature, sitting down outside, or at least having something that connects you. Kevin, you talked about going on walks every Sunday. I used to hike when I was back home, hike on Saturdays with the 5 a.m. walkers. That was one of the best times from a whole week. You just climbed up this high hill and you struggle and you laugh and you came down feeling, I couldn't take on anything now. Hope couldn't beat me. But these things help. And as I said, the prayer and meditation, connecting with God, always knowing that no stressor is bigger than God. So no matter what we face, God is greater and he's able to face it. Guys, we have to wrap up now because we are on our hour. Is there any one last thing, 30 seconds each, that you want to say as we just wrap up this afternoon's discussion on holistic stress management?
Well, for
Can
me,
I go ahead, Kavinia, sorry.
like I said, I believe in baby steps. So, any little change that you can make will, be a great change to the body, whether it's the nutrition, trying to eliminate, or adding the activity, like I said, hikes, beach, dance, playing games, sports, gardening. So I encourage everybody to just try something new, try something different, and let us know the results.
I like that. Let us know. We're gonna have some feedback. Brian, go ahead. Doc, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to echo that. I think we have to find those things that we actually enjoy, because those are the things that we will do. So the dietary changes, the exercise changes, those things. Find things that you enjoy doing, and then, because you're not going to like everything, you're not going to be able to give up all the foods that you like, but just find something and do as much of that as possible, because it will help in relieving some of your stress.
Definitely. And I want to put a plug here for our helpers. A lot of our first line workers, our helpers, our psychologists, our counselors have been out there in the mix, in the midst of it throughout this whole COVID time. And we are not immune to stress. So we have to find ways, and these are good things to start to put into your regimen. Sometimes we're so busy that we don't take the time for ourselves, but we won't be able to help persons effectively unless we are in a healthy and well place and state of being. So this afternoon, I want to just encourage us again that we can't avoid stress, but we can find ways to effectively fight it and keep our mind, body, and spirit well. And I want to just leave us with the serenity prayer. I know we have said it a few times on this program, Courage in Crisis. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That is a great way to start shifting your mindset, changing your thought patterns as you allow God to transform your mind. So, guys, that is it for us today in another episode of Courage in the Crisis, conversations of faith, health, and wellness. And of course, we're coming to you from all across the Caribbean, the Moravian churches of the East and West Indies province. We're not just about your soul. The Bible says it. I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health as your soul prospers. So we want to go to heaven looking good. I'm sorry. We at least need to get old and look good and get to heaven. That's my goal. So if you're on it, let's try to fuse these healthy and holistic means of managing stress. Have a good day, guys. Have a good weekend. And we'll see you again next week, Thursday, for another episode of Courage in the Crisis. God bless you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, guys. Wow.